Hello, my name is Tate Nguyen. I am the co-host for this podcast.
My name is Mateo Nacu. I'm as well a co-host for the podcast committee.
And then we're here with Xander.
I'm Xander Maxcy, and I'm a guest today.
Let's go.
Okay, so Xander, can you please state your allergy and how did you discover it?
Okay, so I have celiac disease, which is like an allergy to gluten. And I actually discovered it when I was really young. I was like 2 years old, and I kept getting like really sick, and I was getting like really bloated. So my parents took me to the hospital. You know, they ran a bunch of blood tests, and then they were like, "Yeah, you have celiac disease."
How severe are your allergic reactions and how do you deal with them?
So like as a reaction, when I eat gluten, it's pretty small amounts will make me sick, and I'll throw up for like a long time. It's kind of like it's almost like having the flu. It's like somewhat severe, but and if you continuously eat gluten when you're sick, it can like do serious harm to your intestines.
When was the last time you had gluten?
Probably like maybe like a year or two ago. It kind of happens less as I get older, because I know more what I'm eating. I make less mistakes of accidentally eating stuff that I don't know is safe.
Can you name some products that have gluten in them?
Yeah, so like a lot of breads, pasta, like a lot of things that are like have grains in them, like wheat, barley, rye. So like I have to eat these things that are like wheat free. So there's wheat free pastas, stuff that's made with like corn flour and rice flour is safe for me.
So you said your reactions are like having the flu. I know for like a lot of other food allergies, like people tend to get hives and like rashes and they get itchy and stuff. Is it like, do you have to deal with any of that, or it's just like?
No, for me, since it just targets my intestines, it's just like getting sick,
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it's a disease. What's the difference between a disease and an allergy?
So I know like for allergies like peanut allergies and stuff, you can kind of like outgrow them as you like kind of eat more peanuts, for example. You can like outgrow the peanut allergy slowly over time. But for me, I can't do that because it's just a disease, not an allergy.
Yeah.
What do you do to avoid having allergic reactions?
So pretty much the only thing I can do would be avoid eating gluten. Once I have eaten it, it takes about like 4 hours for me to notice that like I'm gonna be sick, and it's like pretty immediate. So I can just feel like I'm about to throw up, and after that there's just nothing you can do.
What precautionary measures do you take?
Just like anytime I'm not eating something, or anytime I'm eating something that like I don't know, something I haven't had before, I always read the labels. A lot of times stuff will say, if it is gluten-free, it'll say gluten-free on it. Sometimes it won't though. So you have to look like the ingredients list and see, doesn't contain wheat, doesn't contain stuff like that I can't eat. But even sometimes with things like Rice Krispie treats, for example, it doesn't actually say contains wheat or contains barley on it. So you just have to look through like the actual ingredients one by one, and you'll see that it actually does contain barley, which is what I'm allergic to.
So, can you consume things that are like made in facility or like may contain or?
Yeah. So I'm usually like play it like more on the safe side, so I'll avoid things like that. So what I used to do actually was I would avoid things like French fries when they're cooked in the same fryer as stuff like fried chicken or fried fish. I would avoid that usually because like the breading, maybe the breading could come off and get on one of the fries and I could eat it. But like as I've gotten older in the past couple of years, I've kind of like tested my tolerance a little bit and it's playing it a little bit risky, but I'll still eat things that are cooked in the same fryer, because it's mostly safe, unless like I look at something and like I'm like that definitely has like breading on it.
Now, I remember Teo's last time said something about having an EpiPen. Do you have something similar to an EpiPen?
No, there's actually no EpiPen for it, so you just kind of have to face the consequences.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay, so for the audience, what is the hardest part about having an allergy that maybe those who don't wouldn't understand?
I'd say the hardest part, maybe just like when I was younger, and you go to these birthday parties and everyone's having pizza and stuff like that, and there are cookies and brownies and cake, and you kind of have to like either bring your own stuff or not eat. Like that was like pretty hard on me as a child. Just knowing that I couldn't eat that stuff and it looked so good. And another hard thing would just be like going out to restaurants, you know, and having to like ask people and be like, oh, is this gluten free? Is that gluten free? Like, it's something that like, you know, it only takes like 30 seconds, but you know, it kind of adds up over time, and like kind of gets, you know, annoying to have to do every time.
Going back to your first part, like the party foods and stuff. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like very common for like all the foods to have gluten in it.
What are your feelings about gluten-free alternatives? Like, do you like them like as like tasting wise or no?
So that's actually kind of a hard question to answer because, you know, because I got diagnosed so young, I don't actually remember like eating a lot of stuff. I know like for some people that got diagnosed later in life, you know, they can kind of talk about it, and like there's certain things like gluten-free pretzels, a lot of people say are actually like taste better than the normal ones because they're kind of less like dry and grainy. But I do like occasionally, like I had a gluten-free version of like goldfish the other day, and when I tasted it, I kind of like remembered inside like I had like you know, kind of the memory just came back of like what actual goldfish tasted like, and it like tasted pretty similar. But things like gluten-free bread and stuff, like to me it just kind of tastes like pretty dry and like bland and stuff.
Do you have to recommend any sort of places where you could get gluten-free food?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of places. A lot of places have like gluten-free stuff on their menus already. You know, like Chick-fil-A, stuff like that. You know, Nando's, Chipotle.
I'm guessing you've traveled abroad before. How difficult is that compared to the United States?
So I have traveled abroad. I've gone to London and Paris, and they were almost like pretty similar to New York. Like there was a lot of strictly, you know, gluten-free places. But it was, you know, a little bit harder in like London specifically because, you know, it's a lot of like fried foods there, you know, fish and chips, stuff like that like there isn't gluten-free. My mom actually went to Rome like last year or something, and she remembered there like Italy is really, really good about gluten-free. They're like one of the leaders in celiac disease research. So like there was a ton of gluten-free options there. You know, everything was very, very safe. So yeah, it kind of depends on where you are.
So Xander, are there like levels to your gluten allergy? Like if you eat more, like will you get a worse reaction?
That's a good question. So actually, it's not really so much as like it's like the same symptoms every time I get sick. You know, I guess kind of if I eat more gluten, you know, I might be throwing up more stuff. But usually it's like the same time frame, you know, the same severeness of like, you know, what I have. But like if you have like how do I say this? Like if you have eaten gluten like several times within like a kind of a short time frame, you will kind of get more sick. So like I remember once, you know, like I actually went out to a restaurant, ate something, so I got sick, and then, you know, just like a month later, I got sick again from, you know, the same kind of situation. And so like that second time, it was like a lot worse than like it was the first time. You know, I felt like a lot more pain in my stomach, which is something I don't usually feel. Because, you know, it kind of inflames like my intestines, you know, the more I eat gluten. So if you're kind of doing that continuously, it'll really like hurt your intestines.
Okay, so we've been talking about gluten, but the viewers might not know exactly what gluten is. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so gluten is like, I'm not 100% sure, you know, it's been a long time since I actually looked it up, but it's like, it's found in a lot of like cereal grains. Like I said earlier, wheat, barley, rye, spelt. It is like a really important thing in baking bread. I think it makes the bread rise. It's kind of similar to yeast, but it's not. So yeah, that's all I know.
How long typically do your reactions last?
So usually it's like I'll like throw up in like kind of like bursts about like every 20 minutes or something, I think, and that will last for like, you know, like maybe like 5 or 6 bursts. So overall it's probably like 2 hours or something. Okay. And then at that point, like, you know, because everything is completely out of my system, I have no energy, so I'll just like pass out for, you know, 12 hours or something like that.
And as well, so your allergy, if you got allergic to gluten right now and had an allergic reaction, is it any different from you having it now to compared to like 10 years ago?
That's actually like an interesting question. So I know that like gluten, it kind of changes like your reaction going through puberty. So like right now I might be like I'm not sure, but like maybe it would be less severe than it was a while ago. just because I don't know. But also like I know that they're like kind of working on medicines and stuff that can like not just like lessen the severity of the reactions, but like also allow me to eat gluten completely. They're getting close to that, so.
Are you currently on like any type of meds or like daily pills that?
No, there's nothing I can take right now to fix that.
Have you ever had to go to the hospital for your gluten allergy since like that first discovery?
Since that first like diagnosis, I don't think I have. There's been like one time that I remember I went to the hospital for like a really bad stomach ache, so that could have been gluten. But I think that because I kind of keep everything under control and I make sure that I don't eat any gluten, that there's really no need for me to go to the hospital. You know, it's really when people don't know that they have celiac disease and they continue to eat gluten, and it like really does, you know, serious harm on their intestines. You know, it you know, can leave scarring and stuff, and then they have to go to the hospital for that.
All right, I think we are done. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Mateo.
I'm Xander.
I'm Tate.
And this was
Kids
Allergy
Allergy
Network.
Network, episode 2.
See ya.